Now Sweeney, Dwayne Sweeney! Sweeney's over!
Can you please hand it over to your captain, Dwayne Sweeney?
Welcome to Real Tales with Sweens, proudly brought to you by Fish City Hamilton. Fish City has been servicing the Waikato's fishing, boating and outdoor needs for over 30 years. Now, with the help of their online store, their great range of products and outstanding customer service are available across New Zealand. This episode, I catch up with Mike Knight. Mike is the man behind the brand that is OTL, or otherwise known as On Top Lures. OTL is run out of his garage in Waipu, New Zealand by both he and his wife Rita. What originally started off as a hobby has quickly become a way of life. OTL specialise in topwater casting lures and are used by some of the best anglers in the business from around the globe. During this podcast we cover a range of topics and get great insight into the man behind the brand. From the birth of the business to where it is now and everything in between, including a 20-pound snapper on a stickbait, the uniqueness of a handmade product, and how you never know which lure might just have that something special and be the one. Also, encounters with yellowfin tuna land-based here in New Zealand, selling lures into Norway and Saudi Arabia, being invited to compete in an international topwater tournament in Dubai, his use of recycled timber, and so much more. As always, the show notes will be available on the Real Tales with Sweens Instagram and Facebook pages, as well as the website realtaleswithsweens.com. Good George have a 15% discount available for all you listeners. Just use the discount code REALTALES before checking out of their online store. The link to their store is available on the realtaleswithsweens.com homepage. All you listeners also have the chance to win one of Mike's beautiful, handmade, custom Real Tales with Sweens stick baits. All the details for the giveaway will be at the end of this episode. Lastly, I want to say a special thanks to Mike for coming on and sharing his tales with us. It was awesome to meet you, mate, and I can't wait to catch up for a fish. So join me as we get to know Mike Knight. Enjoy the podcast. Sweet.
Pretty cool.
Alright, might as well rip into it. We're using up all of our good content. Yeah. So I'm just sitting here in the beautiful Waipu with Mike Knight. Most of you will know him from On Top Lures, or OTL. G'day Mike, thank you very much for making your time available on a Saturday afternoon, mate.
Yeah, no worries. Glad to have you on the beautiful Waipu. So yeah. So we're just currently sitting in your garage shed, which is turned into the factory that produces the stick baits, which I'm sure we're going to dive into deeply and get a good look at your knowledge, or listen at your knowledge on on it all. But one thing I do like to do is start off with something sort of engaging for listeners to listen to, and we do have a lot of like fishermen and women that listen to this podcast, so they'll comprehend how unbelievable this story is going to be. But we were talking about it briefly off here, but the 20-pounder you caught on a stick bait the other day. 20-pound snapper, that is. Not kingfish. It's still pinching myself at the moment over this. So it's fish of a lifetime. Like, I've only ever heard of another two fish over 20 pound on stick baits, on floating stick baits. It's the old one being taken on sinking baits, but and this fish was just, we stopped on a reef on the way back in. It's just a random reef, open water over sand. It was like 8 meters deep, and set the drift down the side of this reef, hoping for kingfish. Hadn't seen anything all day, and we were 5 minutes from the ramp, cruising back in, and it's the last cast over the reef, and stick bait hit the water. 2 sweeps later, big eruption, full white water, just like 100% kingfish. Called it for a kingfish, and it missed it first up. 2 sweeps later, followed it and ate it. Pulling drag, like solid kingfish drag, and turned out to be a very big snapper. So still blowing my mind that this fish, like, no sign, nothing on the top of the reef, just come out of nowhere and smoked the stick bait. Like,
It's amazing though, like how fishing has changed over the years. Like you think about snapper, like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
10 years ago, did we catch snapper on like jigs and that sort of stuff? Like
probably
just starting.
Starting, like soft baiting and jigs and stuff were only just really kicking off, like 10, 12 years ago.
Like when I was, I suppose growing up fishing, if you told me that, if you told me that you'd ever catch a snapper on a lure on the surface, I would have laughed at you.
100 gram, 200 mil lure, like, I don't quite get it, but
but
that's what they do. So
I suppose it's funny, because you never know unless you try it. With a lot of things in life, right?
Yeah. And now looking at it, like, I'll be throwing stick baits in places where I wouldn't throw them before, just for that exact reason. Like, targeting snapper up on those shallow reefs, right up in the weed and what have you.
Yeah.
Like,
well, it reminds, like, we were talking about this off here too, but it reminded me of that story when I was fishing with Ben Brown last year at the Angler's Escape, and this ball of kahawai come up on the surface. We'd seen a big kingy, wanted to get a kahawai for a live bait. He biffs in a soft bait and is full speed retrieve on the surface and catches a 28-pound snapper. And the same thing. I was like, bro, that looks like a snapper. And he was like, everything's telling me it's a snapper except for the way how I caught it. I was fast retrieve on the surface. Snapper don't do that. And then what comes up, like 28-pound snapper, 91 centimeters I think it was to the
crazy.
V. Big snapper.
That's big snap.
In the same trip, one of the boys caught a 5 or 6 pound snapper doing 6 knots in a meter of water with like trolling a soft bait trying to catch a kahawai. So go figure. Yeah, maybe we've been doing it wrong for all these years.
Yeah, maybe we have. Like, it still blows my mind. Like, massive snack comes up and smokes one off the surface, and to miss it on its first, eruption on the lure, 2 sweeps later, it follows it and eats it. Like, far out. It's it's crazy.
No, it's pretty cool. And I suppose we're going to end up. Well, we might as well sort of carry on that path now. We're talking about, I suppose, the evolution of fishing and how it's changed. And I guess, just sitting here and looking at the array of stick baits you have on your wall behind you, a few favourites, and a few of them have like good stories. But that's again something new that's come into the market, especially here in New Zealand over the last 10, 15 years, I suppose. So, what was it for you that drew you to stick baiting, I suppose, to start with before getting into making them?
To start with, like, we were using we're going back in 2013, 2014. We had 2 crazy seasons. We're using lures straight out the packet that you buy from the shop. They're plastic, they're rigged up, got hooks on them, everything. They swim amazingly, and we're catching, mate got 2 fish in the high 30s, lures, no changing hooks, no nothing, just, and then it got to the stage where he actually went to Auckland and he bought 2 carpenter lures, and these 2 lures cost him $500 for these 2 lures. These other lures that we were using are $35 straight out the packet, hooks, everything. These carpenters didn't even come with hooks, and that just blew my mind. I was just like, wow. And I actually said to him, he, showed me these lures, and I thought, fuck, I can make these. So, and from a piece of, I think it first started with a piece of pine, and sort of belt sander turned upside down, locked in the vise, and toiling away making these bloody stick baits, and that's where it all grew from there. Pretty much 2 years of prototyping these lures, changing timbers and weights, and what got me was the carpenters when I first using them. It took me 15 minutes just to work out how to swim one. They're completely different to what we pulled straight out these plastic packets, and they're rigged ready to go, where you go onto these timber lures, and I was struggling to swim them. And there was one thing when I first started making lures, I wanted a lure that the Joe Blogs can pick up and be able to use, sort of thing. So no, it's sort of from then on,
sort of went down the route of the different sizes and, you know, what the demand was for everything, and went from, you know, smaller lures to the middle of the range, and then you get into the GT scene, and I think that was sort of when No Boundaries Oman first started, and they're putting up these videos of these GTs that are, you know, 50, 60 kilos, just, you know, full like car doors, just like landing on top of these lures, just crushing them, and it just, I was like, wow, like what the hell have we got going on here? You know, you go from a 75 gram lure to you're talking like 275 gram, like massive, great big lures that they're throwing, and I think that fishery has sort of, the size of the lures has changed a little bit. People are getting a bit more aware of what a smaller lure can do, in the way of moving water and the fishability of it. So you're not destroying your arms throwing 250 odd gram lures, you know, all day long. Your arms are falling off after that, especially when you're on a 5-day charter, 5 days of casting, and so no, there's the difference in lures, like all I make is full floating lures. Once you get into the route of sinking ones as well, like
big rabbit hole.
Oh man, yeah, you could, blows your mind how much goes into all the different shapes and sizes and models and stuff. So
no, it's pretty cool. And you have like a bit of a timber background, the tradie.
Yes, so
a builder by trade.
Yeah, I'm a builder by trade. I done 17 odd years, like high-end carpentry, like, you know, multi-million-dollar houses and stuff over Lings Beach and what have you, Waipu Cove, and just pretty much was working 7:30 till 5, coming home, you know, spending a couple of hours with the kids having tea, and then stuck in the shed till midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, and then, you know, repeat process. Got to the stage where I didn't have weekends, and I thought, no, stuff this, I can, you know,
make a proper fist of
have a go at it, and, you know, building's not going to run away, so once you got your tickets,
it's one thing I find, I suppose, with a lot of the guests that I've had on the podcast, and I suppose successful people I've met through life, is they all have a very heavy passion for what they do. And I, you know, just talking to off air and talking to people, you know, a few friends in common and things like that, and looking at the quality of the stick baits, like when you get one, like they're pretty, man, like I'm not gonna lie, and you look at the work that goes into it. We're just, you know, I'm here in the shed and you know, seeing the whole process.
There's
passion plays a
there,
huge part, obviously,
definitely.
for you.
No, there's from a piece of timber to a finished lure, like people don't quite realise the amount of work that goes into producing that piece of timber. Right? By the time you get it to shape that you're happy with, all by hand, you know. I'm all just doing this by eye. A lot of the guys over in Japan are doing it CNC cut these days, which I think, you know, in my eye, sort of takes it away a little bit. Like, you know, it's not a handmade lure as such anymore.
Yeah. Well, that, like we were talking about that earlier too, in terms of like no two lures are the same.
No two lures
either.
are identical,
like, and you're saying like every now and then you get one that is just for
whatever
reason, the weight might be a millimeter this way or that way within it, and it's just
or the density of the timber is slightly different. Like there might be a couple of grams different in the timber. You know, everything gets weighed out when I'm doing it, but you know, the tolerance is with timber. You know, you can have a couple of grams here and there, and there's just some lures that just completely different to the one right beside it, sort of thing. So no, it's just a handmade thing, I think.
Yeah. Is there any, when you think about that, is there any that stand out to you that are just like that? I don't know what I did with that one, but for some reason
there's
that is
one
just
in
deadly.
particular that a good mate of mine, Leith's got, and it's 100 gram flying fish, and this lure is there's something about it that you know, the fish can be there, you know that they're there, and you're raising them on other lures, and he changes to this one lure, and 100%, like, every time. But then it can be the opposite, you know, they'll be climbing all over everything, and that lure works as well, but, yeah, no, there's something definitely about this lure, and I can't quite work it out, and he still won't give it back either.
Yeah, and that's you're saying too, like, I'm just looking at the wall here, these are your ones that you use?
Yeah, so pretty much all the ones on my wall are ones for myself, and prototypes, and different colorways that I've been trying, and
And that's a bit of a revolving wall, you're saying?
Yeah,
a few
that
mates
sorta,
will come and snake a couple off?
that wall sort of, I stock it up, but it never seems to get any fuller. It seems to disappear as fast as it gets filled up, so... Yeah, and then you get the odd person that wants to buy a second-hand one that I've already used sort of thing as well, so... Yeah, must just be a bit of a thing, they want one of Mike's lures. So.
Yeah, I suppose if you've used it, then they must be like, oh, it must be good.
Yeah. No, it's... Yeah. But it's so much fun, just the colourways that you can get away with, like, and like the as you can see, a lot of those lures have a bit of pink on them as well, and I reckon there's definitely something there with the pink. There's something triggers kingfish. With pink. I don't know what it is. It doesn't have to be much pink. Like, you know, you see them just got a pink eye on them and what have you. But yeah, that can make a huge difference.
It's crazy.
I don't know. It might just be a thing in my head, but nah. Even talking to Jake, like, you go through Jake Pine's lures from Low Cab, and there's a lot of pink on his lures as well. So
and there's a couple you're saying that do, I guess, like, produce more consistently, and that's the blackjack and the mullet.
Yeah, the blackjack and the mullet. That'd be my two most popular lures throughout the board, throughout the world, pretty much. Like, the blackjack and the mullet, like, consistently top of the table when it comes to sales and what have you. So I don't know what it is. I think the blackjack's like a color contrast. I love running a dark lure, like early mornings and night time, or a dull day. I think it's just that color contrast is just stands out for a fish for some reason. So
and a lot of the listeners, if you watch, or podcast guests that I had on, Joe Edlington or J.E. Wilds, if you watch a lot of his stuff, his fishing channel, you'll definitely know the two lures that we're talking about.
The blackjack's his favourite, it always seems to turn up some good fish for some reason. It's just it's one lure that you want to have in your bag, that's for sure. So, how long have you known Joe? Like, did that come through just him being a client, or were you friends? I've known Joe previous to making stickbaits when he was working in the fishing stores in Whangarei and stuff. But once I got into the stickbaiting and stuff, that's when we become good mates. So. So.
His content's pretty good, eh?
Oh,
he's doing a great job.
He's out hiding on the rock somewhere at the moment.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Do you get to do a bit with him?
I should be hopefully doing one in the next couple of weeks with him.
Oh, wicked.
So,
I'll see your feature on a video, hopefully.
Couple of day mission somewhere. So.
Oh, wicked.
No, he's a pretty good fisherman, Mr. Joe.
He seems again, going back to what I said earlier in terms of people being successful, like passion drives success, and he's extremely passionate about it. Like, I didn't even know that about him. I did the podcast with him, and it was all basically heavy hunting focused. And then got sort of talking to him, and fishing came up a little bit in it too. But it wasn't until I guess we got off here and had a few more beers and we were chatting, and it was just like, man, he was like born into fishing, and that was what he did. And then it doesn't surprise me that hunting he's naturally sort of gravitated to and progressed to, because they're so similar. Like a lot of people think, fishing's different, but it's not different. Like, you're still scouting areas, you learn to look for different signs, and whether that's a sunny face for a deer or a drop off for a kingfish, or where some bait will be holding. So there's a big element of that to it.
No, there's definitely like there's a lot of time spent on Google Earth, that's for sure. You know, hunting out ledges and, you know, trying to find, you know, where a current's going to be pushing off a rock or, and even down that route of like moon phases and.
Yeah, you were talking about that earlier.
Like,
so
yeah, I reckon moon phases pull a big decider on whether kingfish are hungry or not. Like, you know, leading up to the full moon and the new moon is, in my eyes, the best time to be chasing kingfish. I don't know how that goes chasing fish out in the deep, like on the pins and what have you when you're jigging or live baiting out wide, but yeah, definitely when it comes to top water, those fish are hungry and feeding like leading up to those moons, and then the other side of the moon can be dead for a few days. Like the fish will still be there, but they just won't commit to a lure, and then it's all on again sort of on that build. So no, it's definitely something there.
Well, and
moons, so.
there's
it's big tidal flow as well.
It is. I suppose there's a lot more water movement
definitely.
too. On the coast.
Yeah.
Which, you know, like all fishing that you do when the current runs is normally when it's good, right? You know, whether you're fishing for snapper or you're at the wharf, like once that water starts moving, things start happening. So it's even the same with marlin fishing. You know, pelagic when you're way out deep and then you get a current start to push and it's surprising. Oh, there's the marlin. You've been there all day and seen nothing, and then the current starts to run the last hour of the tide and
current line.
And all of a sudden, there he is.
Sitting there feeding in the feed along it.
So. Cool. I do want to talk a bit more about the lures, I suppose, like specifically. How many different models do you?
In the stick baits, we have 5 different models, from 50 gram up to 150 gram.
So like 5 different models, and then all the different weights.
5 different weights in the chop. And then we have actually a couple of prototypes, like bigger ones up to 180 odd gram. But pretty much I just don't have time to work on them at the moment. And then in the swimming poppers, we have the 100 gram and the 50 gram. They're like a hybrid sort of, you know, they pull a bubble trail down. So many different ways you can use them. You can use them just like a stick bait, or you can actually troll with them as well. They'll hold in pretty well trolling. And then, you know, you just crank them across the surface and they drag a bubble trail down with them, break the surface, pop, you know, back down again. Pretty versatile sort of lure. And can be very good like early season when the kingfish are a little bit shy on the bite, or there's not so many big numbers around. Like they make a bit of noise like a popper, but still, you know,
still hold in,
and you know, bit more like a stick bait rather than a popper.
Do you find with those, like, will they eat them more like on the pop or when they dive?
They usually eat them, I've found, on the sweep, like when it's pulling the bubble trail down. With it, it's sort of where the stick baits, you know, they can eat them more on the pause. In between the sweep, unless they're hungry and they just eat it.
Eat it any time. When it slaps the water. Let's talk about that a little bit, because we did mention that, like, the slapping on the water. Like, see, if you've watched Joe's videos, like if he stick baits a lot off the rocks, and if he sees a kingy around, he'll slap his stick bait on the water and then cast it. And you had an interesting theory to that.
I reckon with that theory where you know, the kingfish are there but they're not committing to your lure, and I don't know if you ever watched Joe's video, you'll see him do it. He'll just pick the lure up, bail arm still closed, and just slap the lure down onto the water. You still have to be a little bit careful you don't hit the rocks. I have a couple of times, but you can do it in the boat.
You can make a new one.
I still cry though. You can do it in the boat as well. Sweens are saying that you had that one.
I had some success doing that.
In deep water, dragging them up out of, what was it?
40 metres.
40
well,
metres,
that's where all the sign was holding, And I just slapped the stick bait on the surface a couple of times and then flicked it out. It was like 2 sweeps and they were all over it. So my theory on that, where you slap it on the water, I reckon it's, you know,
it's mimicking a gannet sort of going in, you know, pulling those kingfish up to come see what the hell's going on, like, you know, and I use my cast as well. When you're casting, I try and stop my lure enough just before it hits the water to close your bail arm to get that sweep as soon as it hits the water. The amount of times I've done that, and so your lures hit the water, you've sweeped like instantly, and then you're sort of regathering yourself to get in position to carry on sweeping, and by that stage your lure's already eaten. Like, and I reckon same thing, that kingfish has heard that noise of the lure landing in the water, it's come up to see what it is, and next minute it moves away, and oh shit, fish,
I'm gonna get that. Yeah, that's interesting, because you talked too about the GTs, was like mentioned before, and if you see with them, like, it'd be interesting. I suppose I guess we don't have. Well, people just haven't done it, but like Matt Watson's got a good video where they're like throwing poppers out, and you physically see the GTs looking up at it, chasing it as it's going through the air. So they're actually hunting
from the air.
Yeah, from the air.
Well, there's that National Geographic where they're jumping out the
they
broaching, trying to eat birds out of the. Like, what the heck, eh?
Do you reckon there's like an element to that the kingfish like?
Oh, it must be. There'd have to be something there that the kingfish, you know, very similar sort of tactics, eh? Like,
I guess so.
You see those big packs of fish, and no, they've got to be hunting like that. They must have pretty good eyes to pick up some of the lures, especially when they're coming out of the deep like that. Like you were saying, we've raised fish on deep pins, like especially when you're jigging. If you got a mate that's jigging and he's pulling the jig up, you know, kingfish come up with that jig, and and
out goes the stick bait.
And it's pretty fun when you're in, like, you know, on a deep pin in 80-90 meters or something. You don't have to worry about the rocks as much. So.
And I suppose, and to be fair, like, I just did a podcast the other day of Rick Pollock that'll come out before this one does. But talking to him is like, fish loves stuff that's new. Like, that's what he noticed through his time. He's like, I kind of thought we'd sort of done everything you could do and how to catch big kingfish. And then all of a sudden mechanical jigging came along, and he said it just went nuts. Because they'd never seen it before, but he said now you'll struggle really hard to catch kingfish, especially good kingfish. He said you'll catch rats all day long, but you'll struggle to catch a good kingfish on a jig. And he said you'll notice the guys that catch the big ones will be the dude that's got no idea and no technique, and it's unorthodox. So the guys with the perfect technique, they're like, I've seen that before, I'm not going to touch it. But then one that's a bit wonky, and the dudes, one guy caught I think a 30 kilo plus one he mentioned, and the dude had the rod up the wrong way, like, you know, had the reel upside down, no idea what he was doing all over the show, and he got a monster. That's awesome. So like with that too, when you're out on those pins, quite often they'll be following that jig, and they'll something's not quite right with that. Then a stick bait hits the water, they probably never see them. Like, holy shit, I'm all over this. And then so there's probably an element of it.
Another thing with the cast too, when I'm on the rocks, quite often when that lure hits the water, I'll burn it across the water like 5 or 6 turns of the handle, and then I'll start my sweep. And I reckon that's the same thing, like that fish is fleeing away from being attacked from something, or, you know, just puts that little
so not necessarily worried what it swims makes some
literally
noise.
It just skips across the surface, just bounces along sort of thing, and makes a bit of noise and just gets the attention of the kingfish,
and then it goes into its rhythm,
and you get into your rhythm, and
look out,
hold on.
I'll be pretty keen to hear, like, I just sort of want to jump, you know, jump around a little bit now and back and forth, but like fishing for you, how did that all start out?
Pretty much started as I was a young fella fishing with my old man. A lot of surf casting.
All of us, eh?
A lot of surf casting off the beach, and the local river mouths and stuff like that, chasing kahawai and the odd kingfish off the beach. You know, the odd snapper as well. But yeah, sort of growing up fishing pretty much all my life.
Yeah, you grew up here in Waipu?
Yeah, grew up in Waipu.
Oh, not a bad place to. Got some pretty good access to some good fishing.
Yeah, fishing and surfing, that's pretty much all we used to do. So,
yeah, and then I suppose, what was your like progression like through fishing? Like, I suppose for me, I started off at the wharf and then into,
you know, trying to catch big snapper with that, and then from there it's, I think every Kiwi that's ever been into fishing wants to catch a big kingfish.
Oh yeah, definitely. It first started like down the beach, you know, and then moved on to the rocks. I used to spend like every weekend on the rocks down Waipu Cove. Mum and Dad had the Cove store, so you know, do my chores in the morning and grab my bag of bait, and I was off for the day and back to load the chillers in the afternoon.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, I used to spend like every weekend on the rocks down Waipu Cove, you know.
Yeah. Chasing
whatever we could, sort of thing, from kahawai, trevally, snapper. The odd kingfish didn't really happen that often, but it's usually 3 or 4 guys on the rocks. There's usually a live bait or 2 out, and mayhem would happen if somebody hooked up a kingfish. It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, from that, like targeting big snapper off the rocks, and I just wanted a 20-pounder, and I just, you know, got very close quite a few times. I think I got 3 or 4 fish like 18, 19 pound before I finally got the 20,
the
and
magic
then
number.
I got a 24, I think, and
was that off the rocks?
Yeah, off the rocks, and then
that's a good effort.
Yeah, found my flow on the big fish. Actually got a kayak so I could venture further and wider, and you know, places where you couldn't walk to, and that next ledge that you could see past the gut that you couldn't get to. So opened up a world of opportunity, and then went to getting a little inflatable so I could go a little bit further to get to those rock ledges, and sort of all grew from there, from chasing big snapper to chasing kingfish on live baits, and now we're full on stick baiting. So.
Yeah, full on stick. Yeah, and it's stick. You know, is that pretty much most of what you do now?
It'd probably be 80% of my fishing. I still love like wash fishing for snapper on stick soft baits. Like that's
pretty cool.
That's next level. I suppose it's very similar to stick baiting. I suppose you know, you're targeting certain fish like right up in the wash, and cast, and if you don't get something on that first, you know, 10-15 seconds, you burn it in and you cast 10 meters across, sort of thing. And it's pretty fun. So
I haven't really done too much of the, you know, wash fishing. And then I at the Anglers Escape last year did it with Brownie, and you know, doing it with somebody he like loves it, and he's good at it, and he's got a Minn Kota, and we're on his little mini medal, his small boat, and man, it's so addictive.
Yeah, it's so addictive.
I was like going home pricing up a Minn Kota and everything. I was like, man, this is so good. But it's pretty cool. Like, and to be there's an art to it too. Like, you don't just cast your soft bait into wash, because I was casting mine right where Brownie would cast his, and he'd get a snapper and I get nothing.
Oh man!
So it's like, obviously didn't get the the technique. Either that or he stitched me up with the wrong
wrong colour or something. No, it's pretty fun. We do a lot of days where we're chasing kingfish and come in for a snapper fish. You know?
On the way home.
In the arvo, fill the bin, sort of thing. Get a feed to take home. So
is the wash fishing pretty good around here?
It can be pretty good through here.
You don't have to give away your spots.
Yeah, I won't give away too many spots, but it can be a little bit hard. But if you know the areas around here, it can be pretty good fishing there. Right up in the shallows is where you want to be around here. So. Yeah.
And then
a lot of people drive past the fish. Very close to where they launch. Put it that way. Anyway.
Nah, there's a bit of that. Well, just on that again, like fishing at Rangipura, like we've talked about the Anglers Escape heaps here, but the best fishing we had was on a rock straight where we launched the boat. And I couldn't believe it. We had then there was about 6 or 8 boats all tied up, just bellying back on an incoming tide into this rock, in like 2.5 meters of water. And just on our boat alone, I think between me and Brownie and Scotty, we would have caught 30 or 40 fish.
Yeah, nice.
And nice, they're all legal snappers, you know. It was like, oh man, it was good fun.
Such good fun. We've had some fun up there on the light line over the years, Yeah, especially on like these little piper baits on these.
Oh yeah.
Just deadly up in that harbour.
Yeah,
right?
there was a lot of kingfish up on the
yeah.
flat smashing piper and
The amount of
stuff.
time that we've spent running up and down that beach. Like,
Oh yeah.
you see them smashing piper like a couple of 100 metres up and
Yeah,
like
steam
a
up
foot of
there.
water, and you're just running full noise with your rod in your hand chasing these things down. It's just so much fun on the light gear off that beach.
Yeah.
It's just that what's that weed in there? That bloody
Oh yeah. It's sort of
it's
kind of like grass, eh? Yeah.
It can be so frustrating on your lures.
Yeah.
But no, it's pretty fun harbour.
Yeah. Do you with the lures, with hooks, do you find that they affect the swim?
Yep. So like you got so many different ways to rig your lures, from like full trebles, belly and rear, to full singles. Like if I could run singles every day, all day, I would 100%. But with the singles, you do miss a lot of fish. I find that the belly single can fold up and sort of to
Streamlined
the lure,
along the side.
to the lure.
Yeah.
And you can lose a lot of fish like that.
Yeah.
Well,
So
miss,
they'll eat
miss
the
a
other
lot of fish
they'll
like
eat
that.
the other side and the hooks on
well, I'll show you.
Yes.
You get that.
Yeah.
And it just the fish just slides straight over the top.
Yeah.
But in saying that, with treble hooks, you hook a lot of fish in the side of the face, and you lose a lot of fish. Just because they're sloppy eaters. Where with the single hook, if they miss it and they don't get hooked up, 9 times out of 10 they'll come back and eat it. And then you go to what I prefer to run out of my lures is a treble on the belly and a single on the rear, so you get that full action in the rear, loosens up the rear of the lure, get real good action out of it, but you still got the treble on the belly, so you got the 2 points of contact each side of the lure.
Yeah.
And hookup rates,
Lot better.
definitely up there. So
Do you find like the big fish eat a lot better, or doesn't really matter? They can all be messy and finicky.
Yeah, they can all be pretty messy. The 9 times out of 10 you'll get a little one if there's a whole pack of them.
Yeah.
The little one will hook up somehow.
Yeah.
Just because they're rushing, trying to beat the little one, the big ones to it. So.
Yeah.
But the amount of times you'll get a single fish and he just shies off the lure, like he'll just, he'll ghost your lure all the way to the rocks, and you'll miss that fish sort of thing. So
Yeah.
but as soon as you get two or more fish, 2 or 3 fish,
Great
just
competition.
becomes a competition, and they're just all over it, eh? So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's very rarely you'll have fish shy off a lure. That's when
When there's
they're in a pack,
multiple. Yeah.
when there's 2 to 3 fish. So
One of them will get it.
yeah, 9 times out of 10 they'll commit, and it's usually at your feet. Lock drag, and you're going water skiing almost. So.
Yeah. Have you ever been pulled in?
No, I haven't. I've been very, very close. Touch wood, I haven't had any accidents either.
Yeah.
The one that scares me is running that heavy drag and busting off and ending up on your back on the rocks.
Oh yeah.
Like
going
hurting
backwards.
your back, eh?
Yeah.
It actually scares me. I've actually started wearing a life jacket now, so
Yeah.
just for that extra padding on your back more
Yeah.
than anything. And safety if you end up in the water, but yeah, I more wear a life jacket for that reason. You end up busting off and landing on your back on the rocks. You got a little bit of padding. Mate that I used to fish with quite a bit, old Rita Sagawa, who's now over in Japan. He was a firm believer wearing a life jacket all the time for that exact reason. He knew a mate over in Japan that hurt himself. So
Yeah.
no, it's
Yeah. Well, so how much drag do you have when you're stick baiting for these big kingies? Like, what do you have your reel set at?
I wouldn't know exact drag, but pretty much to the point where you can't pull it off the reel by hand.
Oh yeah. So just
Like it's pretty well a lock drag.
15, 16 plus
it'd have
kilo.
to be, 15, 16 plus kilos of drag. Yeah.
Well, I suppose when you're rock fishing, they don't have far to go to get you done, do they? So
that's the thing. Like, you just got to keep on top of those fish, and like movement on the rocks. If that fish wants to run along, you've got to follow that fish. Like you can't stand there and let that fish go down the rocks and you're still in
It's
that
gonna
same
touch
position.
something,
It's going to
yeah.
touch something, and it only has to go under a ledge and it's gone, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And that comes down to another thing too, running heavy leaders. Like a lot of people will shy away from the real heavy leaders because they think it affects the stickbait too much swim wise, which I can see there is a little bit more restriction in say a 200-pound leader to a 100-pound leader. But when you're on the rocks, that 200-pound leader is going to make one hell of a difference to a 100-pound. Like amount of lures that I've lost, and your leader comes back and it looks like it's been put through a cheese grater. Like
just shredded.
Yeah, it's just absolutely shredded, and it's like, wow, like you couldn't put that, wrap it around a rock and do that in your own hands. Like it's just it's crazy. Yeah,
they're pretty impressive fish.
Yeah, it's so much power.
And I suppose with that too, like a lot of these fish you were talking before, that's not big casts either, is it? So you're not swimming these baits a long way.
Yeah,
so that restriction wouldn't matter too much on the shorter casts.
Sort of once you get closer to UA, that you got a bit more feel in the rod, so you got that better action out of the lure. But yeah, I know. Like Joey Linton, he not very often you see him put a full casting off the rocks. It's always sort of a half 2/3 distance sort of thing to what he could put in. And I'm much the same. Like I don't like putting a huge cast in unless I'm fishing certain areas. If you're fishing shallower water, I don't mind putting a bit more effort into the cast, getting a bit more distance. But when you're on deep ledges and stuff off the rocks, like there's no point. The fish are right at your feet. So they're patrolling those rocks within that first 15-20 meters of the rocks. Like they don't venture too much further than that. They're trying to ambush fish that are hugging the rocks that
hugging
are
the
coming
coast,
around the point sort of thing. So
well, like we've talked about Joe heaps already, but like you just got to watch his videos and watch all the bites.
Exactly.
There.
Yep.
Some of them they're eating it as the bloody stick baits coming out of the water, pretty much. Like they're right there.
Yeah.
Pretty impressive, eh? You see a 20 kilo plus fish
eat right at your feet, eh?
Yeah. Like,
especially when they're competing over it, eh? Like, or if they're quite often you'll have a pack of mullet that come round and you're throwing your stick bait in amongst those mullet, and they're still trying to eat the mullet and eat your lure at the same time, and there's like 5 or 6 fish just climbing all over the top of each other trying to eat. It's pretty crazy. So
got a truck going past in the background. I lost my train of thought. There was a question I was going to ask on that. That was what I was going to mention with Joe. I was amazed, like when I watched how many times he free spools his reel.
Oh yeah.
Like I was like, what? Yeah. Like I never
running full barbless as well. Like
like a fish will like boom and it'll duck around the corner and it's just free spool, holds the rod out, runs around the corner. Then you see him flick the bellum over, and I'm like, that's gonna be gone. And then winds tight, and you're like, oh what? Like talk about fishing without any fear. Like
that's where like the singles come into their own. Like Joe runs singles pretty much on all of his lures. And I find once a single's locked in, corner of the mouth, whatever, it ain't coming out, even if it is, barbless. So pretty much all my lures I run barbless now. So
because the trebles would, I suppose they could roll on themselves a little bit.
They can roll on themselves a bit. If they're in the corner of the mouth, they usually got 2 points of contact. Like they're both in sort of thing. So you don't usually lose them like that. But if they're hooked in the side of the face or something like that, that's where the trebles fail on themselves. They just tear out and lose the fish.
And that dirty scrappers too, the old kingfish.
If there's a rock there that they can get around, they'll do it. That's for sure.
It's amazing, eh? Like I struggle to understand how they know to do that. Like, is it a learnt habit or?
It must be built into them.
Must be, It must be, like, the way I think about it is like their natural instinct would be survival mode. I guess when they're getting chased by a predator, that's what they do. They run for cover. And when you look at the makeup of them, they got big dark green backs. They would hide. If they got in under some kelp, be like, maybe a shark or whatever's trying to eat them can't see them. Yeah, and then I start thinking about other fish, and I'm like, okay, what are they? And I suppose snapper, they do the same thing.
Yeah.
And marlin jump, so I'm like, well, what do they jump away from? Yeah. I guess they're trying to, I don't know. Maybe if sharks chase them, they just jump. You're saying that too about the mullet, eh? You said that sharks won't get the mullets, but they'll get a kahawai, no worries.
Yeah, live baiting, over the years of live baiting before I was stick baiting, don't do too much of it these days, but yeah, like if you can get a mullet over a kahawai, like kahawai 9 times out of 10 will get eaten by a shark, where the mullet, they're so cunning, they just outrun them. Like they'll jump out the water. And I've had one mullet up at Spirits Bay. I had that on for 3 days. I was just keeping it alive in the rock pools overnight.
Yeah, it must be a pretty hearty fish.
Oh, like, so hearty, eh? Like,
so the old kahawai mustn't be as tough. Like, because I couldn't imagine a kahawai lasting 3 days.
Nah, so I can't say I've ever tried that theory, but
no.
The old mullet are pretty prized, and they get stuck in the rock pool overnight. So, yeah.
That's a big staple in the kingfish diet at Spirits Bay.
Yeah, you get those massive, huge schools of mullet up there. From the cliff tops, you just see these massive football field size schools of mullet just hanging in close to the rocks and stuff. Patrolling up and down the beach and what have you.
It must be like I guess some current or something up there that
must be
cause it.
Yeah, I don't know if it's that.
Spirits Bay, how close is that to? What's the closest harbour to there? Parangaranga?
Around North Cape. So.
Yeah, because they're normally a bit of a harbour fish, the old mullet.
So I'd say, I take it those fish would live up in the harbours over the winter and stuff, and push out to spawn or whatever they do. So
cool. So we just had a toilet break and just got another beer, but got a couple of interesting topics have come in from a mutual friend, Henry, and he was saying you've had a couple of, I won't ask you to disclose where, but a couple of instances where you've come very close to some yellowfin tuna off the rocks here in New Zealand.
Yeah, so one of the trips was actually when I had morning tide over here from Aussie, and we'd done 3 days fishing previous to this day, and it was the moon phases were all up the wop, and we'd got a couple of kingfish out of the boat, hadn't landed anything off the rocks, and we'd pretty much spent all day on these rocks, on these outer islands, and it was probably about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. The guy on the boat dropped us off on one last island. He's like, I'll stay on the boat and I'll just go have a stickbait around the inside and see what I can find. And these yellowfin turned up about 100 metres out of casting distance, and we're just smoking bait, like a lot of fish. And I was on the handheld VHF trying to get hold of the guy on the boat, and he didn't have his radio on the boat. Typical. And I'm up on top of this rock, like waving my red jacket, trying to get his attention. Finally got his attention. By this stage, about 15 minutes had gone by of these fish feeding. By the time he got to us and we leapt on the boat, they had gone down and just disappeared. But they were just like that little bit out of casting distance. Like, we're all casting mad, hoping that one would come close enough. But just didn't happen.
That would be pretty special to pull off a catch like that in New Zealand.
In New Zealand, I think it has been done once. I think there was a smaller one caught down East Cape.
Oh, yeah.
Years ago.
Well, I would say East Cape, that deep water pushes in so close there.
So close, eh? Yeah, there's one of the land-based guys down there. I'm pretty sure it was like a 12 or 15 kilo yellowfin that he got. So that's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
But some of these fish that were coming out of the water were like 60, 70 kilo fish. So they were massive, big yellowfin.
Barrels.
Yeah.
Wicked.
Yeah.
And then have you had another instance?
Yeah, so on the same island.
Definitely won't be giving away this
spot.
No,
I won't tell you where, but we were actually with Dennis Verriett, and he's a seasoned fisherman when it comes to yellowfin. He held the world record land-based for years, and I was with another mate, Leith, and he had just put a cast in, and I was talking to him at the time, and he was worked his lure halfway back in, and he actually stopped and turned around and started talking to me. And right behind his lure, this bloody yellowfin leaps out the water, chasing Sauri and just, it's just,
Just to rub it in, eh?
mayhem, mate. It's just like you see Dennis undoing his drag from a kingfish drag because he knew that if a yellowfin hit his lure with the tight drag like that, it's just going to ping you off. And it was pretty cool. Put in a couple of hours of mad casting, in hope, and then we actually jumped in the boat and went, looking in the boat as well. So it was Hopefully I get a third chance and make one stick.
Lucky,
So we'll see, but pretty cool to actually see that. So
it's that's something that I talk about a lot with people and different podcasts that's come up as well. And talking to Rick Pollock the other night, like the more time you spend on the water or around the water, things that just happen, and you're just like, I remember, like if you told the average Joe Blogs or someone that just got into fishing, they'd be like, whatever. But you tell somebody that spent time on the ocean and a lot of time, out at sea or doing what you do, you're like, 100% that could happen, because it's amazing what you see when you go out on the ocean, and you're literally looking at a small as area. Like you can't see that far, especially when you're at water level, and then you see these amazing feats, and different things happen, and you're like, oh man, imagine what's just happening just out of sight. If I'm seeing that here, what could have been over there all day, and I think that's the lure of the ocean that pulls you,
definitely brings you back, like that same set of islands where we were. There was one day we had a big black marlin in the Kauai schools that was just cruising backwards and forwards, and he was there all day. Just we didn't have tackle to even think about. We're all just at stick baiting gear, like
you hear that a lot though, eh? Like,
definitely.
I think there's a lot more black marlin in New Zealand than what we think. We just don't fish for them, actively. Like it's it's definitely. A friend of mine's just been at the Whangaroa One Base, and they seen a black marlin 2 days in a row. Trying to get him, but they didn't got him. But they've seen him there a couple of years ago too. So, and they say that as well. They're very territorial. And they'll go back to the same spot each year. So,
a couple of guys that fish the Mokes pretty often say the same thing, eh? Like, top watering and.
Didn't Henry hook a black marlin at the Mokes? He did, eh?
I think he hooked something. It was either a black or a big bloody stripey or something coming and crushed his lure. So. That's
one thing I wouldn't want to catch on a stickbait rod.
Hell no. I want to catch a marlin on a stickbait rod, but maybe not a black. Give me a small stripey and I'll be happy, but I know it's going to beat me up no matter what it is, but definitely one thing that I want to tick off is a marlin on a stickbait. So.
Talk to Ben Brown about that.
I have spoken to him.
You have spoken to him?
He was in the world of pain.
A friend of mine caught one. He switched it onto a live Koei. And it happened that stickbait rod had a trace on it, so they switched it on that. 3.5 hours later, he said, "You're never giving me a stickbait rod to catch anything ever again."
Oh, that's awesome.
But I suppose, like for someone like you though, you use one all the time, so it's not going to be comfortable. But
nah.
You
might be a little bit more used to it. So.
Bit of a learnt skill, eh?
And saying that as well, like I do a lot of CrossFit and stuff as well now, and I find that helps a ton when it comes to, especially like early season when you're first picking up a stickbait rod, and the kingies are just starting to really turn up. Like I can cast all day where other guys are complaining come lunchtime sort of thing. Like,
it's like a day where you go to I remember when I used to have a dabble at jigging when go out and jig for a day. Oh my god! I was just like, very quickly gave up on jigging and just like I'd be like, all right, we'll just go get some live baits.
Definitely.
And the bigger fish seem to eat the live baits too. On those deep pins, but
there's it's definitely a fitness element in it. That's for sure. So.
That you mentioned there, like was it the Morning Tide boys come over from Australia, and I understand you have a pretty big like international customer base now too. And the stickbaits go as far as Dubai.
Oh, they go all around the world. Like,
true.
Yeah, to places like Norway and.
How does that happen? Like, is that just through word of mouth?
Yes,
because I imagine you're not doing ads in Norway.
Nah, it's the power of social media, right?
Yeah.
Like, that previous to making stick baits and starting up on top lures and stuff, I didn't even have a social media. Like, you know, I had nothing, and sort of that's how I've met a lot of the guys from, you know, like Morning Tide and Dennis Varied and stuff like that, and sent in the early stages, sent them lures and they tried them and, you know, tweak this, tweak that sort of thing, all the feedback from them, and now become, you know, pretty good friends with lots of internationals and Kiwis, like, you know, Joe Edlington and Milan and stuff like that. Ryo Sagawa, he was, you know, in New Zealand when I first started, done a lot of fishing with him, and now he's in, moved back to Japan, and he's like the face of Saltiga over there. He's very, very good fisherman when it comes to rock fishing. So stick baiting off the rocks, he's
I suppose for you too, like having guys like that to product test and then following that to promote, that helps build real strength to the brand.
Oh, definitely, and you know, people see those people using your products throughout the world, and pushes it even further. So well, the Oman fishery, that's the one that really blows my mind. Like, I was thinking Oman and Dubai and stuff like that. Like, you know, I didn't think there was much of a fishery there, but the yellowfin GT fishery over there is like blow your mind. Like, they're going out and getting 60, 70 yellowfin on topwater a day. Like, and big fish. Like, I think the biggest one caught on an OTL, I think that's caught by Real Therapy, and I think it's 81 kilos on a 100 gram pink OTL.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That is a beast of a
huge
yellowfin
fish.
tuna.
Yeah. And
that's a big strike, you know. That's a decent sized strike there. And then you go into the GTs, and you know what Ed Nichols is doing with No Boundaries Oman is just blow your mind. Like, you know, I'll have to get some. These 50, guys will be. This will be on like YouTube and stuff. I'll have to get some links off you and share those through the website and stuff.
60, 70 kilo like GTs, like, wow, and you know, like, he's getting, you know, quite a few fish up in that 50, 60 kilo sort of mark, like a season. Like, you know, I don't know what sort of numbers it is, but he must be like 10 plus fish.
That size.
Yeah, that size. Like, it's mind blowing. So,
you caught a few GT?
No, it's one thing that I've never landed a GT. We got married in Fiji, so I've been up in Fiji a few times over the years, chasing GTs up there. Mainly land based. I haven't done anything in a boat up in Fiji. We've hooked a few and lost a few. And we got friends that have got a place up in Niue, so we've done a couple of trips up there. And our last trip up there, we, you know, put a lot of effort into GTs up there, and we hooked 11 fish and lost 11 fish. We're all land based, and like the coral's like razor blades up there.
That's got to touch it.
As soon as it touches, it's gone. And
they fight dirty too?
Real dirty. Yeah. Like, I think they're even more dirty than a kingfish. Like, they just run you straight to ground. So And then you got the size of them up there too. Like the first GT I come across up there, I think it was like first cast at this one spot. My lure hit the water. I got one sweep on it. Looked like someone dropped a bloody picnic table on top of my lure. Like, it's just. And I just stood there with my mouth wide open. I didn't know what to do. I was just like, what the hell just happened then? Thought a whale had like leapt out the water and landed on my lure. Like, a mate beside me is telling me to hit this thing, and by that stage it was too late. So. And that was the lure that I was showing you earlier. It's got a bite mark where his teeth sunk into this lure, and it's almost eaten the lure sideways. Like, big fish. So.
And then, and because GT's mouths are relatively small compared to their bodies too, right? Not like a kingfish where it opens up big and wide.
no, they're big fish, man.
Yeah.
Crazy power, like. Yeah, some of the ones that were hooking off the wharf there at night, and you just couldn't stop them. Like 130-pound tackle and just lock.
See you later.
And, yeah, mate that I was with, he had, his big reel with the 130-pound hollow on it, and he locked that reel full noise, like couldn't get it any tighter, and hooked a fish on it. I was holding on to him because he would have gone otherwise, and just could not stop it. It was crazy.
Well, he's doing well to hold on to the rod then.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. He's a big fella. He's pretty strong dude. So.
Yeah.
No, it's pretty scary.
Yeah.
Scary how grunty they are.
Mm.
No.
Yeah, but it obviously like having all these guys like I guess help with the progression of not only the lures but like the brand and that must be massive for you, eh?
Oh yeah, huge. Without all our team anglers and stuff, like, and good mates and stuff, like, yeah, huge thanks to them. Like, they push things huge, eh? Like, yeah. So.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing the reach that like a little piece of wood can have across the world. Eh?
Yeah, and like the mates that I've made over it as well, like throughout the world, like. Pre-COVID, I was meant to be, me and actually Tony from Moocher Hunters were meant to be going over to fish a big international tournament in Dubai, out of Saudi.
Yeah.
And it got cancelled because of COVID, but it was big invite only tournament. Brooksy from Frothcaf, he fished it the year before, and I think they actually won it, and it was stupid prize money. It was like 250,000 Saudi, that they won, and it was just literally invite only. They got all expenses paid for. You just turn up and they set you up on a boat, and
and you were going to the
me and Tony were
So how does the invite for something like that come about?
Just random one through social media, and I actually hit Tony up like, is this guy for real? Who is this guy? And didn't know him, and then next minute phone calls and talking, and it got to the stage where he was like sorting out tickets and everything like that, but then old Mr. COVID came along and put a stop to that. So.
Has COVID had a big impact on the business?
When COVID first come along and we're going into lockdowns and all that stuff, I was actually said to Rita, I said, give it 3 months and I'll be back building.
Oh, yeah.
But it's gone the opposite direction.
Oh, yeah. So it's sort of like...
It's gone, crazy. It's
crazy that, eh? Like a lot of things...
I think what it was is, there's a lot of people that are stuck at home and they're just amping to go out and, catch fish again, and, they're looking further and wider, like thinking, ahead. So, it's, COVID's pushed business along massively. So
yeah, I suppose with that too, like a lot of the things that have done well and businesses have done well is the things that people like leisure things, like that people are actually making time.
Making time to get out there and do it.
Where before we were kind of in a rat race of like, just got to work, make money, and then people went, well, actually, I don't need that much money. I just need enough money to do what I want to do. Yeah. So then I've noticed it a lot, and that's kind of how the podcast came about too. Like definitely. I was like, I want to do something that I enjoy. Rather than just working for working. Like I was, lucky I had a professional rugby career. So that wasn't work. I loved what I did. And I was like, and I found because I loved it, I was good at it because I had that passion. I pushed hard to keep living that lifestyle or that dream kind of thing. And then I was like, what else am I like passionate about? And it's, I enjoy people. And this is a great way to connect with people. And all the avenues of life that I enjoy. Like I enjoy fishing, and I get to sit here and talk with you and Matt Watson and Rick Pollock and Bonds and Ben Brown, and then I love hunting and I can talk to Joe and Andre, and and then obviously I got my my history with rugby, and I can get access to Sam Kane, All Black captain, comes on as episode 1. I'm like, that's a heavy start.
That's awesome.
So and then I suppose from that and talking to more and more people, people are just keen to do what they love.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. No, there's a lot of people out there that are, you know, gone from working, you know, 6-7 days a week sort of thing to doing the bare minimum and enjoying life, eh? Like,
yeah, and a lot of people working from home too, eh?
Amount of people working from home now, eh? It's just, mind-boggling.
Yeah, and it's easy for them to jump across onto the old internet and buy a new lure, eh?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, the only hard thing is that we've got such a wait time. Like,
yeah.
I've got like 3 months ahead of me pretty much consistently. Like,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. It's,
do you supply to a lot of stores, or is it a lot of mainly direct?
Yeah, so people can buy direct from me,
Yeah.
you know, through social media, or they can inquire through the website. But in New Zealand, I have one shop, Saltwater Connection, and that's pretty much just taken away my demand. You know, if somebody wants something right now in New Zealand, I'm just like, look, you know, go to Saltwater Connection. I can't.
They're in Whangarei, right?
Yeah, they're in Whangarei. And then in Aussie, I have Busted Fishing, who's down in Victoria. Fish Head Tackle, and another one, Hooked Blue Water. But I've just taken on another one as well, which is Hot Tackle. And then I've got one at KBE in Dubai, and then I've got an online guy in Japan as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so
yeah.
No, it's
So the in terms of the process of making one, how long is it from a raw
start.
piece of wood to?
So actual time in my hands from a bare piece of timber to a finished lure is between an hour and a half of actual my time in the hands.
Yeah.
But we work on about 30 to 35 lures a week. You know, that's a finished...
When you're talking about all these stores that you just rattled off, plus the online demand.
Yeah. No, there's
it shows how busy you are.
Yeah.
If you can, you know, because I look at them like, they're beautiful.
From
you know
scratch
what I mean? They're not
a bare
just
piece
slapped
of timber
together.
No, there's a lot of time and effort and love goes into them. So yeah. But yeah, when you look at the process from scratch to finished lure, work on 35 a week. You know, there's an hour and a half of actual time in my hands. Then you got all the coating process where it's on the spin. Like there's 48 hours of it spinning, all the top coats and all the undercoats and sanding and in between sanding. You know, there's 3 coats go on before anything else even happens, and there's definitely a lot of work there. So.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot of work in it.
Yeah.
And then, but do you find the balance? How's your balance being able to still fish for yourself?
Well, that's the best part about it. Being able to work from home, and you know, you got to try these things out, eh?
Yeah. Product testing.
Testing. I don't know what the...
Write that off in the business too,
what the accountant says about that. But,
Oh, the product testing.
Yeah.
That fuel in the boat, that's product testing.
I need a boat to product test.
Yeah. Oh, well, maybe we won't let them in too much that you do a heap of rock fishing.
Yeah. Well, we use the boat to get to the rocks.
Oh, there you go.
So, yeah.
Easy.
Easy. Everyone gives me heaps of grief over having a nice boat and using it to get to the rocks. I'm like, well, you know, that's what I do. So
Yeah. Well, Tony does the same thing.
Yeah,
right?
Tony does the same thing.
What did he end up naming his boat? I see he chucked
Sticks
it up.
and Stones.
Sticks and Stones.
Yeah,
That's a great.
Yeah.
That is
So as in
great
stick
name.
baits and on the
Yeah,
rocks.
and off the stones.
Yeah.
How good is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you have a record of like how many lures you've produced over your time?
I haven't now. I did have a record for the first 4 years.
Yeah.
And I was averaging about 1,200 lures a year.
Yeah.
For the first sort of 4 years, but
So about 100 a month.
It's ramped up way more now. So it's.
And the only way, obviously, to ramp it up is being time, because.
Yeah.
Have you got more efficient on certain aspects of it?
Yeah, sort of got a bit more efficient. Rita's full time with me now, my wife. So she's she puts all the stickers on and helps me sand and do a bit of that stuff.
Oh, cool.
just
family business.
Yeah, it takes a bit of pressure off me. You know, we both, you know, deal with the kids, you know, get the kids off to school, or, you know, one of us is in the shed, or, you know, takes a bit of pressure off me, because Rita was working full time before, so I was getting the kids off to school and doing all that. She was off to work, and and now it's both at home, working from home, and loving it.
And you both enjoy that lifestyle. Rita enjoys it as well.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah.
No, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So in terms of productivity, like having Rita, does that help obviously heavily with numbers out the door?
Yeah. It definitely helps with numbers out the door. It allows me to do a lot more shaping, because I'm not stuck here putting stickers on and, you know, airbrush side of things and what have you. I still do a lot of that, and, you know, the wiring, the through wire through the middle, and, you know, getting them on the spin for coating. I still do a lot of that stuff, but yeah, it's definitely sped up the process a lot having Rita here helping. So
that's pretty wicked. Like it's pretty cool how something that can go from, I don't know, you're just looking at you know, from a carpenter and then going, I reckon I could do that. And then you sit here and you kind of pinch yourself and go,
oh, 100%. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, still pinch myself today.
Like people talk about them alongside a carpenter now, you know, like how crazy is that?
That's
like that's a pretty elite level to be.
Yeah, that's crazy.
In comparison to.
Yeah. No, it's still.
We're sitting here in Waipu in a garage.
Yeah.
You know, like
that's. Yeah, a lot of people turn up here and see my garage, and they come in and they're like, oh yeah, so where's your workshop?
Yeah.
Here
it is.
This is me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plans to go a bit bigger, or
not at this stage?
Not at this stage?
We're, like, pretty much the next route, if we were to go down to, you know, produce more, would be getting staff in, getting a bit bigger premises and getting staff in. But
you still really
once you start doing that, you
lose that handmade touch a bit too,
quality control. You know, you got other people doing stuff that I used to be doing, and so I think at this stage we're just going to carry on as we are, and there's a couple of things in the pipeline that could speed up the process a bit more. So
cool.
Yeah.
And then, like, pricing wise, like how did the, I suppose, like, pricing line, did it come about? Did you just sort of look what else was in the market
I
and
sort of
price it that way, or go more on time? And
I sort of a little bit went on time and, you know, what it cost material wise to make one as well, which isn't too much. 90% of my timber is all recycled as well.
Oh, that's cool.
So it's either coming from the timber merchants, it's all their offcuts that they can't, you know, it gets chopped off the end of a length, and you know, can't be sold because it's got a little defect in it, or there's a knot or something.
Yeah. Is there a lot of waste, you know, like in the timber, from the raw piece of timber to getting it to the shape?
There's a lot of dust comes off.
A lot of dust comes. Yeah.
But no, like actual wastage, it's surprising how much you get out of, you know, an offcut of timber. Like you get 6 odd lures out of, you know, 300, 400 mil piece of timber sort of thing. Like,
that's pretty wicked, eh?
Yeah. Depending on how thick it is, you know, you can slice it in half, and it's pretty cool being able to use a recycled product, like, you know, to the point where, you know, pulling down an old cedar pergola or something like that, that timber's like perfectly seasoned. It's been in the weather for 15 years, 20 years sort of thing. It's seasoned, it's perfect, you know, it's ready to go.
Yeah.
Where you're getting a fresh piece of timber straight out of the mill, and I stick it in the shed for, I can sit in here for up to 18 months before I want to touch it.
Yeah.
You know, it's nice and dry by then, and it's where if you got a raw piece of timber, like the moisture contents can be huge in it.
Yeah, it can move a lot, I suppose, once you shape
and even
it.
From New Zealand, like winter time, where the timber is soaking up a bit more moisture, I had one lure that went from New Zealand to Dubai, and then it went from here in the winter to Dubai in the peak of their like hot, like dry season, and it sat on his mantelpiece for like 3 months before he went to use it. And then he was like, this thing doesn't weigh 75 grams, it only weighs like 73 or 74 grams or something. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, you know, it's a handmade lure. Like, it's not going to be exactly 75 grams every time. Like, do have a little bit of tolerance, it says on my card.
Yeah.
And he actually, I said to him, I said, swim that lure, and then you tell me what it weighs afterwards.
Mm.
And he swam it, used it for the day, come back, put it on his scales, and he was like, oh, it's bang on 75 grams. And I was like, well, it's just the
moisture content.
The moisture content, you know,
yeah.
it must have sucked a little bit out of it. All my lures are sealed anyway, so they don't suck up water.
Yeah.
But just, you know, it got to that point where it was that dry that it, you know, weighed a little bit less, and he was a little bit worried that it wasn't going to swim properly and stuff. And
yeah.
You know, I said to him, I can guarantee you it'll swim exactly the same. But that's the same with all lures, you know. You know, they might say that they're a 90-gram gamma or something like that from, you know, Carpenter, and you put it on the scales and it won't be exact. So, and you know, that goes the same with the shape. Like, they might be a slightly different shape. You know, you might not be able to pick it by eye, but you put it under
microscope,
you know, under the bloody Verners, you know, there might be electronic Verners, and they're slightly different, and that can change slightly how it swims, sort of thing as well. So,
but then there could be the money one, like your mate.
Yeah, like you say, that could be But over the years, like from when we first started to now, like the difference in the shape of some of them as well, like just refining them from one, you know, just that slightly different shape, and finding a slightly better one, and that's the one. And you know, having to change our stickers from, we first started at 90-gram chops, and now we're at 100, and it's pretty much the same lure, just a little bit more weight in it, a little bit more buoyancy in the lure, and slightly different action. So
it's quite cool, like hearing that about the I guess the character of the timber and the recycled timber. Yeah, it really adds another layer to the you know, the fact of like the handmade, and everyone has its own bit of character. Yeah. Like, I'm gonna look so differently at a stickbait now for that reason. But I'm gonna be like, man, this, you know, and I'll always look at things like, you know, half glass full, and then I'll be like, whoa, this could be the one. Like, you know, exactly. I hope Mike did this. You know, this might be that one. He got like just that little bit right. Yeah.
And then, you know, there's other little secrets and stuff as well. Like I was showing you earlier on with the nylon and stuff. How I tie up that belly treble. You know, a lot of people were complaining about all the damage on lures. You know, it happens throughout all lures, from plastic ones to everything. And I started tying that lure from the tail of the lure to the treble, and just leaving a little bit of slack in it. So you still get the same action, but you don't get all the damage from the hook rubbing on the lure. Yeah,
and then that nylon's light enough that it just snaps
it's only
once
like
they eat it.
15-20 pounds, so it breaks away real easy. But in doing that, you know, from saving a lure, you know, not so much damage, to now I'm like, I don't care about the damage on the lure. I reckon my hookup rate has gone up so much just by having that hook tied back.
Consistent
and
spot.
It's consistently in the right position no matter what the lure's doing. So, you know, I reckon that's,
Well, because the lure's the target, right? The
100%.
fish is going to eat the lure,
it's
not
going
the
to eat
hooks.
the lure, not the hook. Doesn't, you know, the lure might be, you know, sitting nose down and the hook's facing forward, and it grabs the back of the lure and lets it go and completely misses the hook. So it's always facing in the right direction, ready to
because with my marlin lures, I've got them all like they're all the same size. They're all consistent. So they're all the skirts are trimmed and cut to length, and then the internal skirt I trim like every sort of second tassel out. I guess you call it a tassel, I don't know. I guess like finger of rubber or whatever, so that there's less rubber, and then the hooks sit like perfectly. I have two hooks, like one up, one down, front one's up, back one's down. But it's so that if they grab anywhere on that rubber, they're going to get the hooks. So like some people push them, you know, sort of right back, or some people have, you know, them right forward or whatever. But I basically have it so if they grab it anywhere in the rubber, that there's a hook. There's some part of a hook there.
Good stuff.
So I suppose that, you know, very similar
same
theory.
Yeah. But then, you know, some of the lures, like the little piper and stuff, I don't tie back at all. I just leave them, you know, running free. So
Any particular reason for that with that one? Is it so the lure that we're looking at is like a long, slender one?
Yeah, sort of. It mimics a piper. I fish them in a completely different style. Like, pretty much you just want that sort of skipping across the surface like a fleeing piper.
Yeah.
So I just fish it.
Yeah,
with
you see them do that, eh? Like,
yeah, when they're getting chased, and
Yeah.
they're just skipping across the surface. So
Yeah.
that's what I try and mimic with those ones. I just have the rod down on like a 45-degree angle, and you sort of just pump the rod with a turn of the handle.
Kind of a little bit of a mechanical
Yeah,
jig
sort
style.
of almost like a mechanical jig, and you just get that thing twitching and skipping across the surface.
Yeah, is that like that'd be a shallow water style?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
On the
Yeah,
sort of
like I was
flats
saying,
and-
you know, up in the flats, up in the Parangaranger and,
Yeah.
you know, front of Reef Lodge and all of that sort of thing along those beaches and the shallows.
Yeah.
Whangarei
Wicked.
Harbour and what have you.
Whangarei Harbour, pretty good fishery, like
Yeah.
or can be at certain. I suppose like anything really, eh?
Yeah,
Anywhere
sorta,
can have its
especially
day.
like right now, we're what are we? End of February. The harbour's fishing real well for snapper, and you know there's quite a few kingfish up there as well at the moment. To be honest, I don't actually do that much up in the harbour. I do a little bit in the shallows. You know, get up early in the mornings and I'll grab one of those piper and I'll go down and you know walk the shallows and see what I can find. Look for the bow waves of kingies, you know, cruising along. So
Yeah,
pretty fun when you can.
like kind
Yeah.
of sight fish them.
Yeah,
eh?
yeah, sort of. Yeah, that same
Like
sort
that-
of sight fishing.
like
eh?
that trout fishing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty fun way to fish, but you know,
Yeah.
it's not that often that it happens. But when it does, it's
Yeah, it's like
It's
that's
awesome.
pretty cool.
yeah, no, it's can be a pretty fun way to fish.
There's, I suppose, with that too, like you never know when it's going to be that day.
Nah,
as well. Like
nah.
we talked about before, like I suppose the lure of the ocean and
Yeah,
what the more time you spend around it and on it, it's just anything can happen.
yeah.
Like I heard it, you know, I was talking to a guy Chris Ash, like you know, one of like amazing fisherman,
Yep.
and he talks about always having hope. Like
Yep.
you've just got to have.
Oh,
He goes
100%,
like
yeah.
the biggest thing with fishing is you just got to be enthusiastic.
Yep.
And he goes, because you never know when
Yeah.
that fish of a lifetime turns up.
Yep.
Like you never know, and that's coming from a guy that's caught 2 grander
Yep.
blue marlin in New Zealand, and he's
Wow.
like one of them caught them in green water,
Yeah.
like green water.
Yeah.
And he's like, you can't tell me that anyone would have thought we were going to catch grander.
Yeah.
But he's like, I'm not saying that. Like he said, I'm not saying that I thought we are going to catch grander,
yeah,
but,
but-
I was like, we're going to catch something.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could catch something
Yeah.
any minute. It's going to turn up.
Yeah.
And it did. And
Yeah.
then he was like, whoa, that's the one that we want.
Yeah, yeah. That's the same theory when we're on the rocks. Like we try and always keep a lure in the water. Like you know, if somebody wants a break, wants something to go have a drink or have an eat or something, other person's still casting because you never know when that pack of kingfish is going to come through that ledge. Like yeah, it's.
I suppose especially that kind style of fishing
Oh,
too, right?
definitely.
Because you're
Yeah,
not
yeah.
moving.
Yeah.
Like, you're fixed,
Yeah,
and
you're
you never
fixed
know
in
when
one
that
sort of
time-
area. You know, if you're up on an island or on a ledge somewhere, like you know, you're limited how far you can move. And those fish, you know, they're patrolling the coast looking for bait. So, yeah, you might only have one opportunity to fish for the day, sort of thing. You know, I'd hate to think how many casts you put in a day. Like, yeah, see on the rocks, like casting all day from sun up till 4 o'clock in the afternoon, sort of thing. Like,
Yeah.
it's a big day on the rocks if you're not catching. So, but then you know, like last year with Jake and Tim up our spot up north. Almost said it.
Yeah. I would have edited it.
Yeah. We 2 days we got 40 odd fish land based in 2 days. So
That's pretty wicked, eh?
Yeah.
Because you think like they are. You talked about it there, like they patrol, they're coastal, like they're moving up and down. So
yeah.
there must be some serious numbers
serious
to be
numbers,
catching numbers like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, no,
you're not
that
catching
was-
everyone you see.
No,
are you?
no.
So,
Yeah, we're having pretty big pack attacks that trip.
yeah.
3-4-way hookups and stuff. So,
Yeah.
you know, it
What's
was-
some of the biggest fish you've seen off the rocks?
Off the
like
rocks?
yourself and others. You've been with?
Yeah, I would have seen fish up to that 40 odd kilo mark. You know, cruising through at your feet.
Yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, those fish just aren't interested. Eh?
Yeah. You're like, that's
They're-
the one you
they're
want.
old and wise. They know. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, no, I've
Oh, these
seen
clowns are here again.
some pretty big fish. You know, like
What about
Yeah.
some of the caught ones?
caught ones. You know, Joe's got some nice fish over the years. The biggest kingfish I've known on one of mine was a mate Ben. He was up in the far north, and this fish was 145 fork length and 86 girth.
Wow.
Yeah, it was.
What would that tape out? That'd be over 40, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
Those sort of measurements.
I'd have to say it's have to be up around the mid 40s, early to mid 40s. Like, it's a big fish. Like,
Yeah.
86 girth on a 145 fish. That's a barrel of a fish. So.
Yeah. The one that Aaron Stiles caught. Like,
that was 145 as well.
Yeah, that was 145 because it went off the moocher, man.
Yeah, it went off the mat.
Yeah,
I've actually got a lure here for him.
Yeah.
I'm meaning to send it down.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. First one off the mat. So he's it'll turn up in the mail soon for him.
Yeah. Far out. Yeah, that's a hell of a story too. That one. Like, I want to get Mark on the podcast.
Yeah, definitely.
As well. And Mark's, obviously amazing fisherman in his own right and done some pretty wicked stuff. And then having Rick on the podcast the other day, he spoke a lot about Mark Collins, and and then I talked to a few of the other boys since the podcast. I was like, oh, he talked about Mark a bit, and they're like, yeah, that'd be right, he's his favourite.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it'll be pretty cool to hear both sides of that story, because it didn't not all smooth sailing. Apparently, there was a hook in a hand,
and
hook
in the hand and hook in the shorts at the same time, connected to the fish. That's a bit of mayhem, eh?
Yeah, hell of it. Yeah,
it's one thing that scares me, is the old fish thrashing around with the lure, in its mouth. So
yeah, well that's another example of you never know when your moment's going to come.
No.
They said there's no way in hell they thought that was going to happen where they were, and it happened.
Well, they were going snapper fishing, I think, eh?
Yeah.
And they turned up to the spot, and there was fish up on the surface.
Yeah, and they're like, what's going on here?
And
apparently there was a heap of little fish.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden there was a bigger pack turned up, and then a real big pack turned up. They're like, whoa, those are big.
Yeah,
and then they thought they were getting sharked, and because of the way the fish was fighting, it was charging the boat and all sorts. And then they were like, wow.
That's awesome.
And Mark, he's seen a lot of big kingies because, working on pursuit.
Yeah.
Ramfilly Banks, White Island, Three Kings. Like, he sees 40 kilo fish. Well, had seen 40 kilo fish a number of times, and he was like, "That's a real one." And on top water, like that's pretty wicked, eh?
Yeah.
Was it on one of your lures?
No, I think it was on a Ryan, I think.
Oh yeah. The Japanese, eh?
Yeah, Japanese. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's what it was on.
Yeah. Come on, Aaron, sort it out.
Yeah, CB runner, Ryan. Yeah, no, he's a good bugger.
Yeah,
there's it.
Yeah,
fucking big fish.
Yeah, it's a
fish
great
of a
fish.
lifetime on top water, that's for sure.
Yeah, those don't come around
that
often, do they?
No.
I just suppose, especially in the scenario he was in too.
Oh yeah. No, it's cool. Pretty light gear too, really. P5 or P6 or something. Wasn't heavy gear, that's for sure. So.
Nah. Wouldn't want to be doing better with something like that off the rocks or P5 or 6, would you?
Not at all. So yeah.
In terms of like line, I see you've got. Do you use hollow core? Do you?
No, I don't.
You don't.
I use solid.
Yeah.
But yeah, pretty much all I run now is Tasline.
Yep. New Zealand company, yeah.
It's coming out of Aussie now.
Oh,
it's been sold to Busted
it was
Fishing.
here in New Zealand,
it was
no
New
way.
Zealand, yeah. So it's coming out of Aussie now. I was using a few other brands previous and got talked into it by Johnny Brooks. Actually, he was running Tasline and he highly recommended it. And I wouldn't go back to anything else now.
I use it on my my game rods, the hollow.
Oh, nice.
It is beautiful, eh? Like
nice stuff, man.
Yeah, because I had Dacron originally, because when I first set my rods up, because I got Telica 50s, smaller reels on my boat. Yeah. And then I had the Dacron to get the line coverage, and I just and it was nice to splice and the rest of it, but you lose a lot of meterage, and then. Yeah, then when the new laws come in, I was like, oh yeah, sweet. And then I got some Tasline. Yeah. And then I've slowly migrated to getting all the, because it's it's not, it's a bit of outlay.
Yeah, definitely.
So I've like slowly over time, and then just this year I've fully got full.
Tasline.
Like I had
I think last year I had 2 reels done,
Yep.
and then 2 still had Dacron, and then this year
Nice.
they're all gone to Tasline. But it's just beautiful stuff.
Oh,
it's so
it's
nice
so
to
supple
supple,
yeah.
real good for
Yeah.
splicing, and then
Yeah.
all your knots and the rest
Yeah,
of it.
and
No,
it's actually
good.
quite thin for how strong it is too. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, touch wood, I've never had it fail. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, we run pretty heavy gear, PE8, PE10 sort of thing, but
What's that, like 130 pound, 100 pound, 130?
yeah, I think PE10 breaks at like 142 or
Oh.
stuff or something. So, yeah, pretty,
Yeah.
yeah, pretty grunty.
Yeah.
But no, it's very, very nice stuff, and not badly priced for what it is as well compared to other brands. So,
Yeah. Yeah, and then good that it's so a local
Yeah,
sort of
yeah,
company too.
yeah,
eh?
yeah.
Well, being New Zealand first, and then now out of
now out of Aussie. So,
Yeah, they bought it, Busted
Yep,
Fishing.
Yeah, Busted
Yeah.
bought it off the New Zealand companies.
Yeah, so clearly must be good gear.
Yeah,
if they wanted to buy it,
Yeah, definitely. So
Yeah.
no.
Yeah. In terms of gear that you use, like rod, what's your go-to set for off the rocks for
Off the
stick
rods, off the rocks, pretty much all my reels now are all Daiwa stuff, all Saltigas and Certates and stuff like that. And then I do have a mixture of rods as well, but in saying that, the Daiwa gears are pretty good.
Yeah. Top of
they're-
the list.
Yeah, top of the list. They're the new Saltiga rods and Spartans that they're bringing out.
Yeah, pretty wicked.
Right up there. So
Yeah.
no, they're pretty nice rods.
Yeah, because with the stickbait rod, you need a lot of lifting power, but you still need that
Yeah.
suppleness
Yeah.
to get the baits
So-
to swim. Is that right?
Yeah, like I reckon. Pretty much, I've grown up with quite a stiff top water rod.
Mm-hmm.
Even right down to my little lures, like little 50 grams. It's still quite a stiff tip on the rod, and I think that was actually something to do with when I first started designing them. Swimming them with a stiffer rod, they had to swim, well,
Yeah.
to get it to work with a stiffer rod.
Mm-hmm.
So I reckon that's definitely helped me along on the way. But then you've got the as soon as you pick up a traditional stickbait rod, it's so easy to swim them. So
Yeah.
but saying that lifting power, there's nothing worse when you're hooked up to a big fish out of the boat and that fish is digging down underneath you and you just can't move it. Like, there's nothing worse than that. So you definitely need that lifting power, but you need a supple enough rod to be able to swim the lures happily. So
Yeah, well, talking to like Chris Ash, the
Yep.
guy that caught 2 granders and caught, I think it was 22 blue marlin in New Zealand in one
wow.
season.
22 in one season.
In one
Wow.
season, and that's just blue
awesome.
marlin. Like, it's
Jesus.
impressive, like there's no one else that would have done anything
Nah.
like that.
And how many strippers would he have got in
Yeah,
between that
in
as
between
well?
that
Like,
too.
wow.
Yeah. But he took he was I spent a couple of days fishing with him.
Yep.
And we caught a marlin. That was pretty cool. Like he came out with me on
Yeah,
Mini
yeah.
Chiefy and we got one that was wicked.
Awesome.
But talking to him about like rods and that sort of stuff, and for someone that's been there and done it, and he's had the big fish on and want what he wants out of the rod, he's like, it's so hard to get what you want fit for purpose, because he's like, when you're out there and you've got that fish, you got that 1,000-pound blue marlin on, you want to catch it, like you need the lifting power, but then you also, that fish don't come along very often. So what's the trade-off? Because while you're catching all these other fish, that rod for that one is not going to be that nice. It's going to be
a back breaker.
and it's just going to be like, whoa, this is a heap of rod to handle. But he said, like, when you got that one on, it's there for that 1% fish, or like that 0.5% fish. So he said it's a bit of a, that's one thing, and I know that he's doing a little bit of work, him and Bonds, with Kilwell to sort of design a rod for that, because Bonds wants to do a lot more fishing in Kona, and he knows that the one's there, they come along, and he's like, you need the rod
to catch those ones,
Catch that
because
one.
especially if they die, because it's a
Oh,
1,000-pound sinker,
Yeah.
and you need to be able to get up on the
1,000
drag.
pound sinker.
Yeah, you need to get up on the drag, and you need to be able to stop it before
Yeah.
it gets too deep. Otherwise, you're basically
never
never
gonna
going to
move
lift
it.
it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's quite interesting, like when you start to hear guys that have got the knowledge about the fishing, then talk to the guys that have got the knowledge about how to build the rod, and then they go back and forward, and then a video come through the other day. Check this out, and they're deadlifting 45 kilos like on this rod, and it's like it barely moves,
Wow.
and it's like, oh, that's probably a bit stiff.
Wow.
That's gonna rip whoever's on the rod out of the chair.
Catapult it over the side, eh?
yeah. So but it, like obviously there's a lot that goes into the art of what we put in our hands and use.
Yeah, definitely.
And I'm really looking forward. I'm going to do a podcast with Scotty from Daiwa.
Nice.
To get a real look at that sort of stuff and how the product's tested, and because I know they do a lot of work with Daiwa.
They do a lot of work, eh? Like
fit for purpose to be here in New Zealand, which I never knew. I never knew that. I just thought we just get Daiwa gear and that's what they make and it comes here. I didn't realise they come and test product here purely for our market. Little old New Zealand, like that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
That sort of level of expertise go, and just like with your stick baits, different colours, shapes, sizes, they all get tested. And
well, a lot of the guys used to say, like with the stick baits, if it can catch a kingfish, a fussy old kingfish, it's all good for the rest of the world. It's going to catch everything else. Like, the kingfish are one of the hardest ones to convince to, eat a, not natural fish. Like, it's a piece of timber that's, or a piece of plastic that's swimming through the ocean sort of thing, trying to mimic a bait fish. So it's, one of the fussiest feeders,
Yeah, it's pretty interesting, eh? Like, because, I wouldn't know, much at all about any other fisheries. Yeah. And even in New Zealand fishery, I don't know that much. I just love doing it.
Yeah.
But, you hear comments like that. It's like, oh, okay, that's interesting to know that. And then it's like, oh, okay, that's why I can't catch a big one.
Yeah. No, it comes down to a lot of technique as well, how you're swimming that lure, and, there's so many different ways of doing it. Like, you look at some people will fish it real slow with big sweeps, and then some people are just real erratic. The lure's pretty much skipping across the surface, and they still get real good fish. So
it's interesting, eh? Like I talked about it before, the mechanical jigging, and then you get the unorthodox dude that's never done it before, and he gets a big one, and you're like, okay, like the book says I should do it like this, but then he did it like that, and then it's like, oh well. Sometimes it's just when it's your day, it's your day.
It's your day,
Yeah, but it's I suppose it's like anything though, eh? The more time you spend doing it, you learn your own. You kind of learn your own way to it as well, because everybody's different.
And you find easier ways as well, like rather than doing great big sweeps all day long, you might be doing more of like a half sweep and then a little twitch sort of thing, and another half sweep twitch. It's definitely, you get into your groove of things, and got to try and mix it up every so often if you're not getting the bite. But there's definitely plenty of ways to work a lure. So
and then like with all these, you mentioned a lot of names here in terms of guys that are out there doing it with their product. It must be awesome for you personally as an angler too to have access to these sort of guys, and then because they'll be learning as they're using the gear too, and be like, oh bro, you should try this next time you're out with that lure.
And just all like the feedback and the photos that come in, like through social media and stuff. Some of the fish that people are catching every day, like I'll pick my phone up at the end of the day and there'll be 5 or 6 messages from guys from throughout the world, like
Does that? What is that? That must be. Like I couldn't put that. I don't know. I wouldn't know how that would feel. Like something that's been in your hands. In this garage. Has made someone's dream come true in Dubai.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, how when you put that into
the one that really stands out for me was Jonathan Brooks when first time we went to Oman, and he got I don't know how big it was, but it was a very big GT off the rocks, and all the guys were around him, like helping him land this fish. And it was a lure that I made for him personally, and it was actually called the Brooksy. Like, it had different colours on it, and yeah, it was like the first land-based GT knowing that that was caught off an OTL.
Yeah.
And yeah, Brooksy had got it, and yeah, it was a big fish, and you know, all the boys are there helping him land this fish, and it's standing on this tiny wee little rocky sort of coral bomby thing, and yeah, it was amazing. Yeah, it really stands out. There's some cool photos of it. Still, yeah, blows my mind when you're getting stuff, throughout the world. Turn up on my phone every day, sort of thing, through social media.
Hey, whoa. These are having a real impact.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Cool.
That's cool. And the more I sit here and listen and learn about the product, and I guess like the business / I suppose like almost like a culture that you're kind of creating with it, because you're so connected into the product and the brand. Like, it's pretty wicked hearing that it's just you and your wife in this garage, and like, for the listeners, it ain't big. You know what I mean? But
it's like 6x7 or something.
But the dream. Well, talk about it there. Like, you're literally making helping people catch their dream fish, or their, that you're talking about 40 kilo plus kingfish, and then GTs off the rocks, and like it's pretty amazing to think that. And it's so. What I find more and more is, not only like with the podcast, but as you sort of go through life, the amount of things that happen right under your nose that you don't realize. How many people on the street wouldn't know that these lures in this garage get sent all around the world?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and it's like, sometimes it's it's cool to hear those little background stories.
No, definitely. Yeah.
I remember doing Ben Brown's podcast, and everyone's like, "Bro, where does that dude live?" And I was like, out the back of Melville. And they're like, "What? In Hamilton?" I'm like, "Yeah, he went to St. Paul's." And they're like, "Nah, no way." Okay. And they're like, "Oh, I've never heard of him." And I was just like, "Bro, he was," and you hear stories. He was at the Super Bowl halftime show, and it's just like, what?
It's crazy,
Yeah, but it's I suppose that's the beauty of social media too now, and platforms media, like this, definitely.
Yeah,
more and more people hear these types of stories and can connect to it, and
these podcasts get me through shaping lures some days.
Yeah,
out there shaping, earmuffs on, bloody listening to podcasts.
Yeah,
so cool.
Yeah, they're pretty cool platform made now, because there's a lot of knowledge in them too, and then the listeners will get a lot out of this one. There's a lot of different things we talk about, technique, and then and not only that, but it like also connects you to a different, or or strengthens your customer base that you already have, and they get to know a little bit more about you, and I guarantee there's people out there that don't realize that that's made by you and your wife. They'll buy it online and get a shot and be like, it's wicked.
Yeah, there's a lot of people think that we get them sourced from overseas. They're all made in Japan or China or something, and all get sent to us, and then we package them up, send them on, sort of thing. But no,
not the case.
It's all done by hand right here.
Yeah, and then you never know which one's going to be the one.
Yeah, it might be a slight little tweak in one that might swim slightly different. Like some of them, like, you can't even tell the difference. Like and might perform slightly better than the other, but 9 times out of 10 they're all pretty uniform. So
I'm like a real big, and the podcast listeners will know this, but I love connecting I guess I buy things from people rather than sort of like what it is. And I've talked about it a number of times already, like different things, and Bonds is a good mate now, and he's helped me so much in sharing his knowledge. So like, I buy his product. You know what I mean? And then like same with Aaron, like real good bastard. We're good friends. So and I if I want to wear Jeff gear, and so I'm sitting here in Crewman's, and
same.
There we go. So it's like
most comfiest shorts you've ever worn.
I literally wear them like
everything.
6-7 days a week without fail. I wear them to work everywhere.
No, they're pretty good shorts.
Yeah, no.
Thank you, Aaron.
Yeah, shot is. So it's for me, like I've loved this, just sitting here listening and learning.
Awesome.
And because to be honest, like, it's a pretty big saturated market. The stick baits, like there's a lot
Yeah, when I first started, like there wasn't too many New Zealand makers, but now, like, geez, there's a lot of people making lures throughout New Zealand, So,
yeah. But that's
throughout the world, like, yeah. I don't know if it's just of, power of social media. I see a lot more now than I used to, but yeah, now there's millions of people make lures out there. So yeah.
No, it's pretty cool though, because it's like when I think of that, throws my sort of mind back to the podcast I did with the directors at Good George, and it's when they started, the amount of craft breweries that were around was I think 30 or something like that across New Zealand. Now it's like, I don't know, like it was in the thousands, I think. In New Zealand alone. And then like they're like, well, like a rising tide floats all ships, like you just want to stay at the top of that. And then I suppose for you, like staying at the top of that is your product testing, and you've got these great people connected to the brand that you can get feedback from, and that's all part of it. But these people, they don't come along for just anybody. And then that was one thing I wanted to get out of this podcast, because talking to people, like mutual friends or people that we know, and they're just like, bro, Mike's such a good dude, and, and I don't want to, I know Kiwi nature, we don't tend to take that, whatever, and we kind of brush it off, but everything I've kind of heard, and then the more I listen to you, and we sit here and we've been catching up this afternoon, it is like, that's the strength of the brand. I can see it now. I can see it. Well, I kind of saw it from the outside looking in, and but now, sitting here listening to this, you can tell, and that's why that's why your brand's successful, is because it is you, and then they're not made in China, and then like, even if they were, you'd still have to have a very strong self-character to be able to connect with all those people, to be able to, for them to share it, promote it, use it, give you feedback and help critique it. Because if you were a dickhead, they'd be like, oh yeah, thanks mate, I know that was shit, I don't want any more. They'd be like, don't send me another one of those, it was crap. Where now, if they got something and it was like, oh, I didn't quite like how that swam, like, try this. Rather than just brushing it and being like, oh, don't worry, bro.
You get the odd person that, I get messages and they say that they can't swim a lure. I'm like, okay, so, go back to the drawing board and you say, okay, so what were you using previous to this? And they're like, oh, this is my first time ever stick baiting. I'm like, okay, here we go. You have to pretty much, teach this person how to drive, pretty much. So it's, you can't just pick up a stick bait and be straight into it. You've got to have a little bit of knowledge on how to, how
I suppose a lot of people would just look at it
and
chuck it and wind it, right? And you'd be like,
where
that's not how it works.
Where if you just do that, it's just going to skip along the surface, no matter what stick bait it is. So, there's definitely a little bit of technique there. So,
and then, like, obviously through that, just from that comment alone, you must connect well with your customers, and then take the time to help them and share that knowledge.
If there is people that need that knowledge, I definitely, some nights I'm on my phone till God knows what time, talking to people overseas. They might be putting an order and they want to know how the swimming popper works. Like the hybrids. So, you're going down the whole route of explaining how that works to them, and next minute, oh shit, it's like 1 o'clock in the morning. Oh my god. There's still another 3 messages from other people of messaging at the same time, sort of thing. So it's
you have to be passionate about it.
Definitely.
Otherwise, it'd be too hard.
Definitely. Like, I try not to look at my phone too much during the day. Otherwise, they end up spending,
Well, we talked about this the other day, and we're messaging to tee this up.
I just picked up and
you're like, bro, I was just going to ring you. I was like, okay, sweet. And then, we had a quick chat. But, keep your hands on the tools.
Yeah, definitely. You can spend a lot of time messaging people, that's for sure. So.
Yeah, we talked about it too, Like a lot of people, I suppose, being based here, like people will stop
know
in
where I am, and they call in and have a yak or
raid the wall.
Raid the
like,
wall.
Oh, one of those will go.
They turn up with a box of beer and walk out with a couple of lures. So, No, it's it's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Wicked. So what do we got? We've got 5 different lures currently.
So there's 5 different of the chop stick baits. There's 80-gram pencil popper, which can be very effective as well. There's a 100-gram and a 140-gram dumbbell, which is more sort of suited to like your GT fishing, where you know you've got a huge presence in the water. You're trying to make as much noise as you can with that big, you know, big cut face on the popper. And then what else we got? We got a 45-gram and a 65-gram piper. Personally, the 45-gram is my favourite.
Oh yeah.
It's just, you know, small, and I love using it up in the harbours and, you know, the shallow water, just, you know, where you find all the piper when you, like back when I was a young fella netting for piper and stuff like that, and you go back into those haunts and start targeting kingfish, chasing those piper, and but in saying that, the 65 grams very, very good as well, especially in open water. Like, you know, kingfish sees a piper out in open water and it's just like, what the hell is this doing here? Like, you know, I'm going to eat that. So, no, they're pretty cool, pretty fun little lures, pretty easy to use. So.
Yeah, is that your favourite out of all of them? Do you have a one that you're just like?
Favourite out of all of the lures would have to be the 100-gram chop.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. If you told me to pick one lure out of my whole batch, out of every colour, it'd have to be the 100-gram blackjack.
Blackjack?
Yeah. Have to be the blackjack.
I thought the blackjack or the mullet.
Yeah, it'd be between the two, like they're the two best sellers.
Yeah.
Blackjack and mullet, but yeah, I don't know, the blackjack's got something there, eh?
Yeah.
It'd be my go-to colour, like real dark colour, early mornings, you know. So it's
wicked.
Pretty effective.
Yeah, is there so there's like a few different ones there. Is it something that you wish to like continually evolve and just like try different things and
like colourways and stuff? We're always sort of changing up colourways and doing custom ones for, you know, if someone wants a custom one, we try and make it work as best we can. And then like a few of the shops have got their own custom colours and stuff as well. So there's definitely a few variations in colour there.
Is there any like I haven't done this for a few episodes, I suppose, not since like early on, but is there anything you want to like leave the listeners with, like a little anything you kind of life mottos or quirky things? Put you on the spot a little bit.
Just keep on casting.
Keep casting.
Don't stop.
Yeah,
because it's always when you stop, your mate beside you will get the fish, eh?
Yeah,
it's usually how it works. So.
One more cast, one more pass. Oh,
it's the one.
Yeah, I think it haunts all us fishermen that day. It's like, what if I just do one more? One more, like one more bait, one more cast.
I usually do the 10 countdown, eh? You do the old 10 and you get to back down to 1. It's like, one more. Just one more.
I don't think any fisherman would ever stop at one, would they? Like, I just, for whatever reason, I don't think we have that in our DNA.
Yeah, there's something there, eh? Like you get to the end of the day and you just, you know, it's time to go home, but you just don't want to.
No.
You just want to keep casting, eh? You never know when it's gonna happen. So.
Yeah. Sweet. Awesome, bro. Thank you very much for your time, especially on a weekend.
No worries.
It was great to connect over, you know, over the business and the brand, and to hear the story, and you know, the biggest takeaway that I suppose two big takeaways I've taken out of it is the can see the strength of the brands, like it's in you, hell of a good bugger, mate, and
cheers.
You know, everything I hear was, you know, pretty true. Well, it's all true, and it was great that we could get that out in this podcast form. And then I just love the character of, you know, hearing how they're made. I really enjoyed hearing the character of each one, and how you never know which one could be that little something special.
One
just
one
have
in
that
1,000.
might be
you know,
that 1.1%. Better. They're all good, but you know, just that one might have that little bit of something extra.
Yeah.
And I think we should all look at fishing in life that way a bit sometimes.
Oh, definitely, yeah. That would go with all, you know, all lures, no matter what they are, even the plastic ones, they might come out of the mould slightly different, or, you know, it's might be that one that
If you send it to Dubai, you send it to Dubai and put it on the mantelpiece, it might be 2 grams lighter.
Exactly, yeah.
Cool, bro. Awesome. Thank you.
Cheers, man. Thank you.
Hey team, I hope you enjoyed listening to that podcast as much as I did recording it. Now, for a chance to win the custom Real Tales with Sweens stickbait made by Mike, all you have to do is follow both Real Tales with Sweens and On Top Lures on either Facebook and or Instagram. And then once you do that, you want to jump on to Real Tales with Sweens Instagram and or Facebook, and you want to tag 2 mates in the comments below for this episode post. So the post that went up with this episode, tag 2 mates in the comments below, and then you'll go into the draw. The winner will be drawn 2 weeks after this podcast airs, so jump in the draw and best of luck. Thanks very much for listening, and I'll catch you on the next episode.